On video, Raiders head coach Pete Carroll. Those words still sound a little funny. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
What's happening, fellas? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. We've missed you. It's been a while. How
Yeah,
are
I
you?
bet. Sure, I get it. Yeah, you haven't called me once. What are you talking about?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. We're having a blast. Probably pretty easy for you guys to predict kind of what we're doing and how we're doing it, because it's very similar. And we've got a great place here to work, and the energy around this building is shifted in a direction that's really familiar and really fun, and looking forward to taking each step along the way here. We're last couple of days of OTAs, phase 2, and then we'll kick it in next week and get a chance to see us look like a football team out there.
How do you keep doing this, Coach? We had Mike Mayock on earlier, and Mike marveling at just the energy and the juice that you had. We marveled at it for 14 years in Seattle. How do you just keep doing it and having the kind of juice and energy that you just bring to this job every day?
You marvel at it?
I marvel
Really?
at it. Well, Salk naps 3 hours every afternoon. I had my first coaches meeting last week. I don't even know if I've told you I'm going to jump into coaching and putting the travel on the side. And yeah, I mean, my brain was tired afterwards. I went to bed early. Like, how do you just bounce around still at this age and stage the way that you do every day?
Well, it had nothing to do with how old you are. It's how much passion you have for what you're doing. I don't think. I mean, I can't equate age to it at all. But it's just kind of a natural thing to do. If you want to go for it, you got to go for it every day. And if I'm asking these guys to bring it, I got to bring it too. And we'll go out on the field here in an hour or so, and we're going to be pumped up, and guys are going to be running around and cheering and having a good time doing it, and they'll be hauling ass everywhere we go. That's the only way we know how to do it. So I got to make sure that I'm doing it too.
You spent a year not doing it. What did you learn during that year?
Oh, quite a bit. That's a really loaded question for me, because I had the opportunity to watch JV high school football, varsity high school football, UW, all the guys that are coaching all over the country, in the league, and I really was able to find a perspective that was totally unique to ones that I had in the last 15 or so years, really, no, the last 20 something years. And because when you get away and you relieve yourself of all of the day-to-days, and the moment-to-moment concerns, you can see things differently. And it was a marvelous year in terms of football. And I haven't changed anything philosophically other than everything's been adjusted, and I love that's happened. It happened to me when I left New England and had a big year there. Really, my most favorite year ever in coaching, because I figured out the approach that we took to USC, and everything kind of changed. I was getting fired a lot back in the day, and so we finally got our act together, and this year was, I think, and I'm hoping to show, was just as profitable for us. In terms of just tweaking and seeing things a little bit more clearly and finding a clarity that I hadn't seen in the last handful of years.
Can you give a specific on that? What has changed?
Yeah, well, there's a million things, but watching high school football, and they're running the same plays, for the most part, and the defenses are playing the same kind of defenses, and they let the same kind of plays kick your butt on all levels, and we don't need to let that happen. It doesn't have to happen like that. And so, as basic as that may sound, when you get in shotgun, you hand the ball off, Brock, and as your teams are going to do, and everybody on the defensive side knows when the guys on this side of the formation, the ball's going the other way, basically, and it still keeps working. Well, something's wrong with that, and I like I'm telling you, I saw it in JV football, and I saw it, played in the NFL all the way to the last game of the year. And so there's things that we have to do differently to not let that happen, through awareness and scheme and principle and the way we play blocks and stuff. And so that's just one example. There's a million of them. That was one of them.
Was there at some point when you were watching the Islanders or watching some volleyball in September or October or November where you were like, okay, I know that I want to get back into this? This itch to get back in is definitely there. Was there kind of a moment, or just kind of build throughout the fall?
No, I just took some time off, that's all. I just got a chance to get away. I didn't change anything about what I was thinking about the game or wanting to coach or want to be part of it, That's why when I left there in Seattle, I left with, it was a little bit ambiguous to you guys what was going on right there. And I didn't want to quit on those guys, and I wasn't ready to retire. So I had to figure out a way to kind of smooth that through, because I loved what I do, and so I had a great time fishing this early in the, in the fall, and getting on the river and doing all of that kind of stuff. But it was with the intention that when the time came, I was going to go for it again. So
on
I was
the river
jacked up for it.
fishing. Did you just say on the river fishing? Pete Carroll's on the river fishing, fly fishing?
Yep.
What?
But I'm not going to talk about the time of year, because I don't want anybody to know I was outside of the guidelines a little bit.
I was.
I'm not giving up my spots either. You're right.
I'll admit to being a little surprised. My gut feeling was that you would find so many other things that interested you, and that you would be so excited about all the extra time you had to do all of those things that you would say, you know what, I do love coaching. It was a great chapter in my life. But there's so many other cool things. I love teaching at USC, and the class you were doing, and all the other ways you can just sort of energize yourself. I will admit to being a little surprised.
Well, the what was really obvious is it's the pursuit of the passion, and really that's what was obvious to me. And whether it was in the class or it was, doing stuff, studying stuff, and reading and writing and all that. There ain't nothing like this game, for me. And I mean, I love playing and love coaching and love the all the competition of it. And that was crystal clear to me. I didn't have any, that was no like revelation. I just needed to see if there was an opportunity that would suit it, suit us. And so we lucked out and got in here with the Raiders to go ahead and get this thing cranking.
What was that interview process like for Pete Carroll at this stage and Super Bowl champion and everything that you did in 14 years in Seattle? What was that process like with Mark and the Raiders?
It's pretty easy, really. I mean, what could they ask me? How could they stump the band on this one? And I have a real strong feeling about the how hard it is to be a head coach. The challenges of the job and the rigors that you face aren't ones that you practice until you do it, and it's why it's so hard for young coaches to make it and be successful. And like I got my butt fired twice being a young head coach and didn't know what I was doing, and I fortunately figured stuff out in the year between New England and USC that changed things for me, and I've been pretty much the same ever since. But it's there's a lot that goes into this job, and now there's really, you can't, I'm always challenged, but I'm not going to get stumped by anything that's going to come our way. So we just got to see if we can really, really do a great job of communicating and teaching and creating the energy and the juice and all that it takes to do this at a high level. But really, the specificity and of the all of the tactics and scheme and principles and situational game and all that, I mean, I couldn't have had many more chances than I've had, to get ready for it. So, it's with it's a lot of confidence and something that you might not put together. The class that we did at USC was an extraordinary experience for me. Now that was really, really something. And because of the preparation and the processing of it and aligning the philosophy with teaching it to students, and with professors that I worked with and all that. It was an amazing process, and it just made me more prepared for presenting now and for standing for what I believe in now.
The name of the course was?
The Game is Life. And so it was basically, and Dean Verunsoni from the religious studies there at SC, he was a follower of the stuff that I'd done at SC. We kind of came to the university about the same time, and he had embraced the philosophy in a way that he helped me make more sense of it to deliver the message to the students. I don't know if you guys knew what happened in the class or you followed it at all, but it was an incredible experience. Now it was really, really something, and it was emotional and deep and rich and fun and and all the kinds of stuff that I like doing, and we found a way to deliver a message that was really it was just one of a kind experience.
So, Brock, you guys know the voice. It's Pete Carroll. You just haven't heard him on the station in a while, but obviously you recognize the voice. Still a lot of impact around here. And just, Coach, I'm looking through our text line and just text after text coming in and just people saying they miss you and just have a lot of really compliment. Pete is unreal. I love his mentality. I love his wisdom. There's a lot coming in. So just
that's nice.
So
that's
you know,
nice.
the people do miss you. But Brock brings up that interview, and they must have asked, hey, what happened at the end? And what's the answer to that? What did happen at the end?
It came to me that there was a time that we probably were about to face one of the bigger shifts in the time in the program, and I had really been dedicated, as John had been dedicated to, John Snyder, to doing this thing in great fashion together, and we had done that, I thought, and it was really John's turn. It was his turn to take over, and I know I had the lead voice and all of that all through that time, and I was really hoping that John could become the general manager of the club and run it, and if we could do that, and we'd figure a way to get out of that, we did, and so Jody was great about it, and so we just kind of agreed upon it that if we could work it out, I would support the thought, and that's kind of how it happened. So it's a little bit different than maybe how people perceived it. But John got his chance. I told him the first day we ever talked that I was going to help him be the best general manager in the history of professional sports. I was a little lofty, a little lofty at the time. He was like 38 at the time. He's looking at me like, "What the heck is this guy saying?" But I meant it really, and so I think that through the time he has developed, it was kind of his turn, and there was a lot of big changes that were going to happen, and that were going to they were going to have to come. And I thought we might not agree on all of those changes, because I was going to hang with some guys more than maybe he would at the time, and the changes they made have obviously turned out great. They got a good coach and a good staff, and they're rolling, and so more power to them. Hey, what a coincidence, huh? How about the opening game of preseason? Is that out?
I don't think that's
not out yet. Oh, there you go again.
Okay, so we just. Wait do you see?
Coming up here?
Wait do you see?
Coming up here? Hey, are you going to finally break your rule of joint
what a
practice?
coincidence.
Oh, Dave Pearson's looking at you right now, shaking his head.
How do you feel about joint practices?
So is Will Kiss. Will Kiss is sitting right across me here. Oh, jeez.
Can we get a joint practice, Coach? I know you were always against it, but they seem to be forward here now. Yeah. Let's do joint practices leading up to a preseason game.
Yeah, well, they're for it now because I'm not there. No, we're not going to do that. Okay. We're not going to do that. We're planning on doing something a little different than we've done in the past. Like a lot of things, we do some things differently, but we're not doing that one. Okay.
Well, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this thing. What happened on that?
Let's go
on the infamous plane ride.
Yeah,
you're sitting in coach. What the heck is up with that on the way to Indianapolis?
The report here is you were in coach while everyone else is in first class. Is that true?
Yeah.
How does that happen? Are you're just of the people? Whereas everyone, I mean, like, what's going on? Why are you in coach?
I think it's a waste of money. What's the point? I don't care. I'm sitting in the plane. I don't care who I'm sitting with or who I'm talking to. It doesn't matter to me.
All right.
I'm riding the emergency door. Who would be better on the emergency door than me?
And so that's really funny.
Is that where it started? Is that where the Geno trade conversation started? Right on that plane ride to Indianapolis, Coach? Inquiring minds want to know.
No. Heck no. No, I was trying to get that done from the moment this thing happened. I was hoping that we could do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Geno said that you guys spoke a fair amount last year. What kind of things would you guys talk about?
Supporting Geno. Supporting him. And whatever came up. But basically, I was, just I love the guy, and I was just hoping he would do well and have a great experience, and knowing that it was going to be a challenge and difficult, that things were changing and all that. I've grown. Think about it. Geno was a backup for all those years. I don't know, was it 4 straight years where he hardly even played? I mean, Geno played 15 or 16 games in about a 5 or 6 year span there, whatever it was. And so there was a lot of times when we had to do stuff together to keep him going. And he was keeping me going, but I was keeping him going. And what he demonstrated to me, this remarkable connection in spirit to being ready, knowing that the very next play he may be in the game. He never forgot that. And his resolve about that, I thought, was so exceptional that when he got his turn, you know, I was thrilled for him. And when we got our chance to go ahead and make him the starter, you know, I believed in that too. And so this opportunity comes up, and we need a quarterback. And I mean, really, that was it, to me. It was just it was a classic opportunity for us to really transition, you know, with the quarterback position, with the coach that they see eye to eye on everything, you know. So Geno has killed it here. He's been such a factor. The leadership that he brings and his work ethic, his mentality, and he looks great throwing football. It's been a fantastic assistance to you know, turning this thing over.
What was it like starting after 14 years with Johnny and everything that you guys did in Seattle through the draft process? What was it like in an entirely new organization with another really young GM and obviously a minority owner that I think played probably some role through the process? Just kind of compare and contrast maybe just a little bit, Pete, of what this experience was like as a Raider versus the 14 as a Seahawk.
Well, it was very much the same, and that's why, you know, it was very similar, even to where I faltered at times because I just needed to do a really thorough job of making sure everybody was on the same page and we were connected, because I had come from that where we were so tuned in from all aspects of the building. It's a big job to get everybody on the same page, and so that it takes time. You know, it just takes time. And so, you know, it's hard to remember back to the first and second year that we were there in Seattle. But if you do remember that we made a bunch of transitions and we were just switching and flipping the roster to try to find out a way to make it a winning club. And we're in the same mode right now. It's just it just takes more time than I remembered. Because, I mean, I remember the last 12 years, not the last 14 maybe as well, you know. And the first couple of years, it's a blur. But it's been a big challenge. And Johnny Spytek is remarkable. He's on his stuff. He's so good. He's got great background. He's tough, really an astute leader as the general manager. And but we have to totally fit together. I mean, I think that, and I've said it, I think probably over the years, that the relationship between the head coach and the general manager in the NFL is more important than any other aspect, any other factor at all, in any way you can look at it, because there's so much that we have to do together. And so, you know, I treat that position with great respect, and I always did that with John. John did it with me, and there, and now it's John there, John here. You know, so help me out a little bit on that one.
How much interaction do you have with Tom Brady?
Pretty regular. We're phone buddies, man. He hasn't been out here, but one time I think since we've been here. But we've talked a ton of times, and talking philosophy with Tom is, well, you can imagine what a thrill it is, because he is just he's the all-time competitor, and it's not just how he played, it's how he lived and how he sees the world, and how he attacks every opportunity that he has. And so we're so eye to eye on that. It's been a blast. That's really been fun. But the challenge of it is to bring that mentality and connect it to an entire franchise, you know, and so it was when Tom came on board here, it changed my outlook, you know, to come here. And I mean, I thought that would be one of the great opportunities of all time, you know, to have his presence, because his presence is strong, and big factor with John Spytek as well. They go back a ton of years, and Johnny holds him in highest of regard. And so we're trying to infuse Tom's mentality. We're trying to bring it into the organization because it's so good and it's so unique, and he's so one of a kind that I think it helps us have the opportunity to be a one of a kind franchise.
A running back at number 6, Pete. A running back with the
hey,
6th
baby.
pick in the draft.
You guys are always griping about that stuff. Do I love running backs or what?
I mean, you
Come
do.
On. Yeah, no kidding. And so you get a guy like Ashton to come in here and bring his crazy little stuff that he can do. You know, it was, and Spy was on it too. John Spytek he loved him too, and so
We heard you whisper to him.
It wasn't actually Marshawn like we did in the first year, but it was the next best. You guys don't remember that. That's as much of a draft pick to me as any of them, And Marshawn was such an attractive individual to bring into our program. And how many people will ever talk about Marshawn as being an attractive individual? Not many, but. But he was really I thought the change maker for us there, in his extraordinarily unique manner. He was here on game day when we did the first interviews, taking the job, and he's the guy that's hooting in the background, go Raiders,
Oh yeah.
And I didn't. He said he was going to come, but I didn't see him. I didn't see it in the blur of the day, and then when I come walking out of the thing, there's Marshawn just waiting for me in the hallway, and we've been together a number of times, and he was here last week talking to the team. And you can imagine that speech. We could not air that one.
Yeah, that's not for public consumption, no.
But he is such an amazing guy. I love our relationship and the fun that we've had. It's been, and there's more to come. The whole Oakland thing. He does not see us as the Vegas Raiders. It's still the Oakland Raiders to him.
Did you bring a basketball?
Oakland Tech days die hard.
Did you bring the basketball? What's
that?
Did you put up a basketball hoop?
No.
Something new?
No. We had enough. We had enough funds to go ahead and get our own.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't mean the same basketball hoop, but you put up a basketball hoop.
I mean, just because they don't have one anymore, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that.
What? So you talked to Geno in the offseason fair amount, or during last season a fair amount. You bring him. I was
just being a friend. That was just being a friend, and loving him up and supporting him through all the good stuff and the hard stuff and all of that.
What about
camp
Russ?
On,
Did you talk to Russ over the course of last year also?
Sure. A ton of times. Yeah.
And what are those? What are those?
I talked to Marshawn. I talked to Doug Baldwin. I talked to Sherm. I talked to all. When you do this thing with everything you have, and you give every bit you have and every ounce of energy and juice and love and all that, that doesn't go away. It's either when you love them, you love them. And it was a really fun part of this offseason.
What was it like watching the Seahawks and all those relationships, and not just the former players, the guys that were still playing last year? As you were home watching it, was that?
I was rooting for them the whole time. Yeah, I wanted to see. Yeah, I want to see all those guys transition and do well. I mean, it's the same. I mean, you either love or you don't. I love those guys, and so to see them all get going and see Big Cat have such a great finish, and all of it. Jackson do his thing, and and all of it. Because it's so challenging. I mean, Mike did a great job. It's so hard to take over a franchise, but particularly one like we had. One that had so much flavor to it and all that. And he did a great job.
You're a better man than me. I couldn't have done that. I'd have been sitting here rooting against them every game. I don't know how you could. I mean, I admire it, and I probably would publicly say that I was rooting for them. But in my heart of hearts, I would feel like every win they had invalidated me, and so like I would never be able to get to rooting for them like that.
Well, okay. I'm not going to say what you said, but who's better, this or that?
You are. Clearly, you're the better person. I wouldn't have been able to do that. That would have been really hard for me. So I'm actually being sort of serious. I admire that.
Okay.
I don't think that's easy.
Understand this too. This is really the basics of the truth. I loved our time in Seattle, and I love the people, and I love the fans. And like you mentioned it, probably the single most obvious factor that I noticed being around the Seattle area was the people's feelings about the time that we spent there. And I mean, it didn't matter. It was airports, it was in riding bikes, walking the streets, whatever. I was unaware of the connection that we had with the fans, and I would have loved to have had it that way. Well, hell, I found out it was that way. And so it was a really rich, powerful, deep time that we spent together. It was 14 years. That's a long time. A lot of ball games and a lot of wins, a lot of difficulties and challenges and all that. And we kind of did it together. so many people would come up and say, I remember the Super Bowl, and I'm sitting on the couch with my grandpa, and when I was 10 years old or something, whatever it was, and everybody had a story, and it was the parades and the big games and the big plays and the come-throughs and Marshawn's runs, and all the, the things that happened. That's the first thing people tell me, is say, oh, I remember when, where were you? Like I wasn't there, it was.
And I think for Brock, I won't speak for you, Brock, but I think for us, it's funny. The thing that we always remember is the day after the Super Bowl loss, you coming into the building to talk to us, and I'll admit we were probably both a little nervous about what that interview was going to be like, and just the way you handled that day will always kind of be with us, and we reference it all the time as really a masterclass in how to handle a very difficult situation.
Well, honestly, that was the master class in itself, and that was the one that I always knew could happen, where things just don't happen the right way. It just goes freaking south on you in a flash. And how are you going to handle it? I was prepared to handle that, because I knew that someday it was going to happen, and unfortunately, it did. And so I wanted to demonstrate how you can handle tough times like that, and they wanted me to go on some talk shows or something like that the next couple of days, but they weren't going to talk about the right stuff, so I didn't do it. But the great moments that when you win and you're victorious and all of that are impacting, and they've had their way that they change your life, and so do the losses too. It's on both ends of it. To go to that parade, in Seattle. That's an extraordinary thing that happened, for all of our people, and that's why people keep bringing that stuff up. It's still part of their everyday, when they're confronted with it, and so it could be on the good, it can be on the bad side. How are you going to deal with it?
And you're going
to be real or you're not.
I just love that we were contractually obligated to have you the next day, or else we probably wouldn't have asked the right questions either. You would have said no to us also.
And what I love?
I did. Yeah.
What's so great about this too, Pete? You're jumping back in and look at it. You get Andy Reid and Mahomes. You get Harbaugh and Herbert.
How good is that? You guys all going to think this Harbaugh thing is
division? My God, every team is good in that division.
Yeah, coaches are older than hell too.
The whole group of you.
So obviously, I got to be the most mobile. I got to work the. I'm not going to just stand there.
Well, you'll be happy to know that with the Seahawks drafting Nick Eamon-Worry, we can go big nickel here now, Pete. Yep. You know how much I've always hoped for the big nickel, and now they've got themselves a big nickel. They got Cam 2 here. How about that?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Just wait till you see us.
And we're going to get to see you soon.
Sounds like we're going to see you in preseason. I'm looking forward to it, Coach. Seriously,
I didn't slip that.
Of course not. No, you didn't. No. That's very top secret information.
Well, the fact that in case that does happen, I should have slipped it out.
Absolutely, of course you should.
No filter,
Coach.
Sorry, Raj.
Thank you. We've missed doing this. We obviously enjoyed talking to Mike this year and getting to know him, but that in no way takes away all the fun we had chatting with you and all the interesting conversations every week. And hopefully we can do this again, because this was a blast. And just again, reading the text machine here, people are pretty fired up to hear from you.
Well, sorry, this is going to be the last one ever. So.
I kind of figured that might be the case. Brock,
Thanks,
if you got
Pete.
any last questions for Pete, get them in now. This is going to be it. Coach, good luck this year.
See you guys. Take care.
We appreciate it.
Thanks
there you
to everybody.
go. There goes Pete Carroll. Wow. And that was really fun, as Pete once said. We get to take a quick break. We'll come back.